for any stake in society, why would they defend it? What is it anymore? The only thing that seems to bind modern society together is the pursuit of stuff, the material, money, the dollar, which is also declining. That's why so many people are turning to things like BNPL or buy now, pay later, which I did a whole video about. You can literally buy a pizza on credit, and over half of BNPL users have missed payments. That's not normal. That's how distorted the economy and reality has become. And when you combine all that with the psychological aspect of the news cycle, which is driven by financial interest, and you get social unrest, distrust, and a decline. Now, if you look back throughout history, though, this happens again and again. Ray Dalio calls it the long-term debt cycle, and historians like William Strauss and Neil Howe call it the fourth turning. Every 20 years, we enter a new cycle. Great nations and empires rise, they prosper, they overextend, and eventually they decline. And the decline always kind of looks about the same. Debt goes up, the wealth between the rich and poor gets bigger and bigger, politics turn bitter, and trust in institutions collapses. Now, while all of this is happening, though, the empire wraps itself in a cocoon of protective policies that isolate itself from the rest of the world. Some of those policies are things like when the US government just took a 10% stake in Intel, effectively kind of part nationalizing it, which is weird. Then there's the tariffs. And while they're not necessarily inflationary, but they are protective regulations, which I think are done in good faith to protect the empire and buy it some time, but instead, they make the empire weaker and less competitive on a global level. You can see this in the fall of the Roman Empire when decades of overspending and 98% inflation made their currency worthless, which is what we've seen in this country since the creation of the Federal Reserve in 1913. You can see it in the decline of the British Empire when the cost of the two world wars left them buried in debt, forced them to hand over the leadership over to the US, and they gave up their reserve currency status. And now you can see the same pattern today. The US dollar is still the world's reserve currency, yes, but every year that status gets weaker and weaker. The national debt just keeps getting bigger and bigger. Interest payments on that debt are now bigger than what the US spends on the entire defense budget. Now, while all of this is also happening, the system of